Sure, yeah, go for it. I love your clowns up there, by the way.
Excellent. Yeah, this is all VHS, and I'm slowly but surely introducing my kid to all the weird movies that scared me growing up. So that's
Wow,
that's where we
that's
start.
impressive. He's he's got a lot of time
Yeah, oh
on his.
yeah. So speaking of kids, I watched Blood, and I thought it was fantastic, man. I thought there were some really stellar performances. One of
Yeah,
them coming from you.
thank
So first off, how did you get involved with this film?
you. It was something. Fortunately, that I was offered from Brad, and that was kind of all it took. And then Michelle is attached. Like, I mean, it was a no-brainer. But remove that, and just as a script, it was so fascinating and such a page turner. And I felt like it all had so many different things to say and to offer and to ask. And then the fact that it is a quasi genre film, it's I don't know. It didn't know. I mean, it defies kind of explanation in a lot of ways. And then I would tell people about the setup and leave them hanging at the crucial moment, and people were like, "Oh my god, that sounds amazing." So yeah, I don't know, just intrigued and loved it.
Yeah, awesome. Same here. As soon as I saw the trailer, I was like, yeah, sign me up for every interview. Uh,
Yeah,
let's make that
yeah.
happen. You mentioned Brad, and I'm a huge fan of his. I grew up watching his films.
Yeah,
I got a chance to interview him, and he's a very intense guy, which I really appreciate. What's it
yeah.
like working with him in comparison to some of these other directors you've worked with?
Well, it's odd because I didn't really find him intense. He was kind of, maybe he's nervous for it. I don't know, but
Yeah,
like, he was a teddy bear, and such a sweet, sweet soul and a parent himself. And I felt like work wise, we just kind of were on the same page the whole way. And it just was very relaxed, and sort of he set us up in such a great way and explained things in such a great way. And I felt like we were really interpreting it in the way he intended. And our insights, Michelle and I, or the kids, or whoever, was appreciated and wanted and included. We just all seemed to be on the same page about it. And uh and it was an incredibly fun experience despite all the dramatic aspects of it. We really had a lot of fun making it. And a lot of that is due to him. He's just a joy to work for.
yeah, I've heard that from multiple people. And maybe I'm projecting a bit. I think his films are intense, so maybe I was
Yeah,
going
yeah,
into it
yeah,
just assuming that he would be intense as well.
yeah,
But it was a great time talking to him. It's one of those things that
yeah.
I've always wanted. And I have to ask you about the wardrobe. I've seen you at conventions, and it seems like your character in Blood wears very similar like threads, even to your normal attire. You know,
I mean, maybe, yeah. I never really thought about it like that. And it's not, I mean, I think the vibe was to make it feel as lived in as possible. And I hate going shopping, so all my clothes feel lived in.
yeah.
So maybe that's the commonality, is just this sort of, this blue collar feel, that we were after. And I have no airs about me. So maybe that's the similarity.
That's very true. I can definitely relate to that. I've been on sets where I know that they pulled from extras. They've put clothes from extras on main cast. It's
Yeah,
wild things that happen.
yeah.
Um, you mentioned Brad, being a parent himself, and I wanted to touch on the kids in this film. Where we started full circle.
Yeah,
They delivered some of the best performances that I think I've seen kids deliver. So,
yeah.
what was it like from your perspective?
I was blown away, to be honest. And I knew it wasn't some like happenstance sort of reason. Like, they were doing their homework, and they were prepared, and they were ready. And Brad, uh and their parents, like, it was just such a great environment. And I have video of, like, Brad rolling around on the hospital floor describing to Finlay how to, when the foam's coming out of his mouth, and like, I mean, just priceless stuff of us all at play. But I agree, they are exceptional performers, uh, and I never felt a false moment with either of them, which is really rare. Usually, like that age range, especially Finlay's age range, like there's, something that's going to distract them or something that's going to, uh, but I don't know, they were just phenomenal. And we had a great time doing it together, but there was just, you're right, there's something really exceptional about what they gave, and how Brad help them get there and shape it, and really extraordinary. I think that a lot of that is a testament to Brad and his abilities and casting, and and then the kids' own abilities. So
Yeah, and also, I mean, Michelle delivered,
oh
a stellar performance. I mean, immediately draws you in the trailer. Um, you
yeah,
know, I didn't realize how close Brad was to the casting process, so it's kind of neat to hear it from your perspective as
yeah,
well as his perspective, because he said he wanted you. So, and it's kind of neat
yeah.
that it felt the same way, I guess.
I was
Uh,
shocked that he even knew who I was, or that he had ever even seen anything. And then I guess I think it was his daughter had been into Riverdale or something, and but I don't know how, like, how it all happened. I've never asked him about it. Never wanted to jinx it.
yeah,
But yeah, he's years and years ago, like one of the first films I ever did with Bruce Beresford, he relayed that, 80% of filmmaking is casting.
yep,
And if he can find the right people, then, most of his job is done. And I don't know that that's strictly true, but, Brad is of that ilk as well, and finds just the right people for what he's after. And I was just really freaking fortunate to be one of those.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the viewers are very fortunate as well. It's interesting. He told me that he showed his kids video of the kids as well. He's like, "Do these look like real kids to you?" So it's kind of interesting
Wow,
that.
interesting.
And so, I just want to give you a chance. Is there anything else you want to mention about the film? Maybe to hype up, those that are, on the fence, maybe about seeing it.
Yeah, I think it's sort of a, don't get trapped in the sale of it so much as understanding that it really is a family drama with some pretty wild drama. What the drama, but ultimately it's about what you would do for your kids, and the lengths you would go to protect them. And yeah, there's some wild things that go on in this film, but that's the heart of the film, is really this, a woman's love of her children, and a father's love of his
Yeah.
children. But I think there's so many interesting things to glean from it, about judgment on people, about not being quick to judge someone, and trying to, like Patrick is really sort of assuming that she's fallen down the same straight path she had before, and uh and that's not it at all. So I don't know, I think there's a lot to offer with the movie, but ultimately it's a sort of genre twisting family drama.
Yeah, that was actually my favorite thing about the film, how many elements like kind of melded together. And if
Yeah,
you like, you can watch it on the surface, but if you choose to dig deeper, like most of Anderson's films,
yeah,
there's a really great message underlying there.
yeah, I
And
agree. I'm glad you got that. That's, it's so wild because we made this a little over 2 years ago, and to finally hear that all those ideas and thoughts and notions that he had and shared, and that we all collaborated in, are being received.
yeah,
So I'm glad to hear it.
yeah, it was awesome. To wrap up, I want to mention Riverdale because you brought it up. Actually, I wasn't planning on it, but
Yeah.
I am curious. So, I had read that ultimately you left this series, or wanted to leave the series, just because it was kind of becoming like stale in a sense.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I definitely can agree with you as a viewer.
Yeah.
I've talked to my parents, watch it, for Christ's sake.
Wow. Yeah.
They agree. It's there's
Yeah.
something missing. And I guess my question to you is what would it take for you to become interested in again in that world? You know, because I'm with you, but I'm just
Yeah.
curious what it would take.
Well, I don't know, I mean, we're talking about it,
Yeah,
we're
fair.
talking about, because it's concluding, and, Roberto and I discussed it, and he feels like, that it would be nice to conclude that part of the story, and I feel indebted to the fans to sort of to do it. So I'm open to it now, and he's we're in discussions about it. So I think ultimately it will hinge on what it is, and I know they're in the 50s now, so I'm
Yeah,
curious how that works out, in terms of story. And but I miss those guys. I love those guys. I appreciate those guys, and I appreciate the fandom around that show. It was crazy.
yeah,
And I think they're all incredibly talented. I think you're asking one of the toughest asks of artists of any form, is to, it's akin to writing War and Peace, to write that many hours of a story. And it's not an easy task, and it inevitably will go through ebbs and flows of what intrigues people and what doesn't, and it's no fault or no finger pointing on anybody. It's a really, really, really difficult thing to do. um I think the show has been amazing. I think it's done wonders for a lot of people. I'm not talking career wise, I'm talking like for fans, like the people who come to me, like it helped a lot of people through a lot of things from what they say to me at conventions. And so I think there's a lot of merit in the show, for many, many reasons.
excellent. Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate your time. I appreciate your answers. You know, here at CineDump, we let the doers know how they're doing. And Skeet, you are doing just fine. I thank you so
Oh,
much. We will keep watching. Have a good day, sir.
thank you, man. Thank you very much.
Of course.
Take care.
You too.